The Volquest 2-minute drill is brought to you by Craven Wings.
Welcome to the Craven Wings, Volquest.com full court press as Tennessee loses in an ugly fashion tonight to the Florida Gators by a score of 67-54. I'm Brett Hubbs with Rob Lewis. Rob, ugly is the best way I know to describe it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, just a bad night. I mean, Tennessee no-showed out of the gate, had enough moxie to kind of, dig themselves out of a hole and fight back into it. And then, looked to me or felt to me like they had control. I mean, they're up 44-38 after they put together a little spurt there. And then, Florida just gave them the knockout punch. And it didn't, as bad as Tennessee had played, once they, kind of got the upper hand, it really felt like Florida was reeling. And, that's when you would expect or hope to see the number 2 team in the country with, so many veterans kind of, put the pressure on Florida and keep them down. And they just weren't able to do it. I mean, Tennessee goes up 6, Florida goes off on a 17-2 run and goes up by 9. That was the ball game.
Yeah, Florida finishes on a 29-10 spurt the last 10 minutes of the game, 10-10 of the game to put it away. And it's Castleton who's got 12 of those 29 points during that stretch, Rob. And Tennessee just didn't have an answer for him in the second half. What was Florida doing differently to get him looks in the second half and get him in some isolation situations in the second half that they didn't do as much of in the first half? Because the first half was more about Florida's perimeter shooting.
Yeah, I don't know that Florida necessarily changed all that much. I mean, on first look over, it just looked to me like Castleton was doing a much better job at getting good position down on the block, and Tennessee didn't have an answer. I mean, Plavsic struggled with him, Adu struggled with him, Camlaw struggled with him. Coach Barnes said after the game, I mean, he did a great job of just really getting it deep. And that was a surprising thing. I mean, not that Castleton's not a good player, but one thing that this team really excels at or has excelled at is taking the opposing team's best offensive player and, maybe not stopping it, maybe not just shutting him down, but really limiting him and, holding that guy below his average. And that wasn't the case tonight. Castleton had 20 and 9. Was perfect 8 for 8 at the free throw line. I mean, got there a bunch, forced the issue, and I don't want to say it's a red flag, but it really makes you wonder about Tennessee's ability to handle skilled big guys like that.
Yeah, we talked about it on the Tuesday podcast when we were, what's the concern for this team? And you mentioned size. I don't know that it's just brute raw size as much as it is skilled size because he's a skilled offensive player, and Tennessee's defense seemed to have a hard time handling his skill set as much as they did handling his size. Didn't you think?
Yeah, totally agree. And that was, I don't want to necessarily say it's eye opening because other than Tubelis from Arizona, I don't know that Tennessee has really seen what I would call a skilled big man of that caliber. And so, small sample size, but it does make you wonder because Castleton really had his way, as you mentioned, especially in that second half.
All right, let's talk about Tennessee offensively. They shoot 27%, 28% from the field, 20% from the three-point line. Those are all recipes for an early exit in March, regardless of who you were playing. Nobody played well, well on the offensive end. Florida was physical, particularly with the Tennessee on the perimeter. They're going to find that, because in the NCAA tournament, Rob, they let you play. They're going to find that some. What's Tennessee's counter to teams kind of pushing them around and pushing their offense out further away from the basket the way Florida did a good job of with their guard defense?
Well, I mean, the easy answer and the Captain Obvious answer is they've got to counter that by getting something in the paint. And they really just didn't do that tonight. I mean, I'm not hating on the kid, but I don't think anybody's surprised that after Olivier had 27 and looked like an All-American against Texas, that he was 4-13 from the floor tonight. Now, to his credit, he did have 9 rebounds, team high. So he was working on the glass, but just other than he had one little spurt there in the first half when he helped Tennessee get back into it. Other than that, a really tough night for him down low. You don't expect Urosh to give you anything, but on a night where they're struggling so bad for the perimeter. I mean, Santi and Josiah were combined 4 of 23 from out front. Zakai was 6 of 19. You got to get, Olivier has got to be an efficient scorer in the paint. And I'm not saying that's the only reason they lost tonight, but what you're talking about when they're struggling so much from the perimeter, it really highlights, just how how hard it is for them to get points inside sometimes, and that
Yeah.
was the case tonight.
Yeah, Tennessee. I mean, even the guards missed a ton of 15-foot jump shots. I mean, they are who they are, but I mean, Santi's got to find something inside the 3-point arc of some kind. I mean, to me, the dribble into the free throw line or just inside the free throw line in the paint and pirouettes are just not getting a whole lot happening there. So again, look. I mean, Oklahoma may lose tonight to Oklahoma State, right? And we saw what happened to Alabama, and then they come back. I mean, it is basketball, but there's some things for Tennessee. When people say how do they get out of the tournament early, these are the things that cause you problems if you're not careful, and that's what Tennessee's got to go fix. The question, Rob, is what can they fix aside from just making shots? Because it's hard to make shots for 3 straight weekends in March.
Yeah, I mean, and Tennessee wasn't great defensively tonight, not up to their standards by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, you can't, this is again another captain obvious thing. You can't expect to hold teams to 52, 53 points in March and win. So, yeah, I mean, this is the blueprint for what an early exit is going to look like if they have one of these nights offensively. And another thing Tennessee hurt themselves with, they didn't get anything easy. Tennessee had 0 transition buckets tonight, not a single one. And on the flip side, Florida had 10 fast break points. And again, you can pick out a lot of different stats that you kind of highlight how badly Tennessee struggled, but that's one of them. When you're as good in the half court as Tennessee is, you can't give up anything easy, and you've got to find a way. And to Florida's credit, I mean, you saw they were bailing on they weren't going to the offensive glass at all. They were really committed to not giving up anything in transition. But on the flip side, that doesn't have anything to do with them getting 10 freebies on the fast break like they did.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And that's something Rick Barnes talked about earlier in the week. They've got to improve on their transition defense. He didn't think it was good enough against Texas either. So, we'll see. I think the other thing, to me, big picture offensively, Tennessee they almost panicked a little bit at times offensively. Their ball movement, a lot of 4-foot passes, just kind of throwing at each other's feet. I mean, I give Florida credit. They were physical and really disrupted any kind of flow Tennessee wanted to have offensively tonight. I've not seen a team be able to do that to Tennessee. Even the Colorado loss, Tennessee just played that poorly. I'll give Florida a lot of credit. I thought their physicality tonight really disrupted Tennessee in a big-time way.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one stat that highlights that, Tennessee had 7 assists in this game on 19 made buckets, and that's not Tennessee basketball. I mean, they lead the SEC in assists, a little over 17 a game coming into this one, and that's in league play. That's not just padding your stats against the OVC teams, and that some of that, yeah, we're missing open shots, but I think it speaks to the point you're just making, is that Florida did push them around, and I don't think Tennessee was intimidated or anything like that. I don't think that's in their DNA, but it did affect them. And like you said, they just didn't have any flow. The ball movement was not crisp, like we've seen, like it's typical of this team when they're playing well.
No, certainly. I mean, this is a team that scored over 80 points at home against Texas, 54 tonight against Florida, and a 13-point loss after Tennessee led by 6 with 10 minutes to go in the game. Tennessee loses at Florida. Back at it against Auburn coming up on Saturday. We have full coverage of this loss, kind of what's next for Tennessee, what they've got to work on to get themselves back in the position they want to be in in a month from now when they get into tournament play. That's going to do it for this edition of the Full Court Press, presented by our good friends at Craven Wings. He is Rob Lewis. I'm Brent Hubbs. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody.
When you're craving wings, it's got to be Craven Wings. Online at cravenwings.com.